Thomas lived on a small farm, the kind where the rooster knew you better than your own shadow. But lately, the shadows felt longer, heavier. His wife, Sarah, had passed away a year ago, leaving a hole in his heart bigger than the barn. He missed her laugh, the way she made even weeding the garden seem like an adventure. Now, the farm felt like a burden. The crops weren't doing well, money was tight, and the silence in the old farmhouse was deafening. He tried to keep busy, fixing fences, tending to the chickens, but everything reminded him of Sarah. She had always dreamed of having children, filling the house with laughter and the pitter-patter of tiny feet. He wasn't a grumpy man, not really. Just tired. Tired of the loneliness, tired of the worry, tired of the constant struggle. He ate simple meals, mostly alone, the television a flickering companion in the evenings. His neighbors tried to help, bringing over casseroles and offering a hand with the harvest, but Thomas mostly kept to himself. He appreciated their kindness, but he just couldn't shake the feeling of being utterly, hopelessly alone. His days were filled with the routine of farm life, but his heart felt empty. He longed for something, anything, to fill the void Sarah had left behind. He didn't know what it was, but he knew he couldn't keep living like this, just existing in the shadow of his grief. Something had to change. He just didn't know what, or how. He just knew that the silence was getting louder, and the shadows were growing darker. Meanwhile, a few towns over, lived Lily and Rose. Identical twins with bright, curious eyes and hair the color of spun sunshine. They lived with their uncle, Silas, in a small, run-down shack that barely kept out the wind and rain. Their parents had passed away years ago, leaving them in Silas's care. But Silas wasn't much of a caregiver. He spent most of his days at the local tavern, gambling away what little money they had. Lily and Rose were often left to fend for themselves, scavenging for food and trying to stay out of Silas's way when he was in a bad mood. Despite their difficult circumstances, the twins were inseparable. They found joy in the simplest things, like chasing butterflies in the meadow or telling each other stories under the starry sky. Lily was the more outgoing of the two, always ready with a smile and a kind word. Rose was quieter and more observant, with a knack for drawing and a vivid imagination. They dreamed of a better life, a life where they didn't have to worry about where their next meal was coming from or whether Silas would come home drunk and angry. They longed for a warm bed, clean clothes, and someone who would love and care for them. They often talked about running away, but they were too scared to leave each other, and too young to know where to go. They were just two small girls, lost in a world that didn't seem to care about them. They only had each other. And soon, even that might be taken away. Silas, meanwhile, was in deep trouble. His gambling debts had piled up, and the men he owed money to were growing impatient. They were rough characters, with faces like weathered leather and eyes that could chill you to the bone. He needed money, and he needed it fast. He paced back and forth in the shack, his greasy hair falling into his eyes. He had already pawned everything of value, except for one thing, Lily and Rose. He knew it was wrong, terribly wrong, but he couldn't see any other way out. He had overheard some men at the tavern talking about a traveling merchant who was looking for young girls to work as servants for wealthy families in the city. A cold calculation settled in Silas's eyes. He could get a good price for the twins. Enough to pay off his debts and maybe even have some left over for himself. He pushed aside the small voice of conscience that whispered in his ear. They would be better off with a rich family, he told himself. They would have food, clothes, and a roof over their heads. He was doing them a favor, really. He found the twins playing in the dirt outside the shack. "Girls," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle, "I have some good news. A very nice man is coming to take you to a new home. You'll have everything you ever wanted." Lily and Rose looked at each other, their eyes filled with suspicion. They didn't trust Silas, not one bit. But they were also desperate for a better life. Maybe, just maybe, this could be their chance. Back on Thomas's farm, things weren't getting any easier. He was struggling to keep up with the chores, and the loneliness was becoming unbearable. He knew he needed help, but he couldn't afford to hire a full-time farmhand. He'd seen an advertisement in the local paper about a traveling merchant who could provide young workers for farms. He was hesitant, the idea of taking in strangers felt unsettling. He remembered Sarah's warm heart, her willingness to help anyone in need. She would have opened their home without a second thought. With a sigh, Thomas decided to visit the merchant. He told himself it was purely practical, a way to keep the farm afloat. But deep down, he hoped it might also ease the ache in his heart. He found the merchant camped on the outskirts of town, surrounded by wagons and livestock. The man was a burly fellow with a booming voice and a shifty gaze. Thomas explained his situation, and the merchant grinned, revealing a row of yellowed teeth. "I have just what you need," he said, leading Thomas to a small, enclosed wagon. "Two young girls, strong and healthy. They'll work hard for you." Thomas peered inside. Two small faces stared back at him, their eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. He hesitated. They looked so young, so vulnerable. But then he thought of his struggling farm, his aching loneliness, and the memory of Sarah's kind eyes. "How much?" he asked, steeling himself. The merchant named a price, and after a brief negotiation, Thomas reluctantly agreed. He didn't know it then, but he had just changed all of their lives forever. The ride back to the farm was quiet. Lily and Rose huddled together in the back of Thomas's wagon, their eyes darting nervously around. They didn't know this man, didn't know where he was taking them, or what he expected of them. Thomas tried to offer a reassuring smile, but it felt stiff and unnatural. He wasn't used to being around children. When they arrived at the farm, the girls were even more apprehensive. The farmhouse seemed huge and imposing, and the field stretched out endlessly. Thomas showed them to a small room upstairs, with two narrow beds and a window overlooking the barn. "This will be your room," he said, his voice gruff but not unkind. "You can unpack your things." Lily and Rose exchanged a glance. They didn't have any things to unpack. They had arrived with only the clothes on their backs. Thomas noticed their confusion and quickly added, "I'll get you some clothes tomorrow. And some shoes. You must be tired. Dinner will be ready soon." He left them alone, and the twins immediately clung to each other. "Do you think he's nice?" Rose whispered, her voice barely audible. Lily shrugged. "I don't know. He doesn't seem like Silas. But I'm still scared." That first night, they barely touched their food. They sat at the large wooden table, feeling small and out of place. Thomas tried to make conversation, asking them their names and ages, but they answered in short, hesitant sentences. He could see the fear in their eyes, and he felt a pang of guilt. He had brought these girls here, to his lonely farm, and they were terrified. He knew he had to do something to earn their trust. The next few days were a slow dance of tentative steps. Thomas, unsure how to interact with children, tried his best to be patient and kind. He gave them simple chores, like feeding the chickens and collecting eggs, tasks that even small hands could manage. He showed them how to tend the garden, explaining the names of the flowers and vegetables. Lily and Rose, cautiously, began to respond. They saw that Thomas wasn't like Silas. He didn't yell or hit them. He spoke to them in a quiet voice, and he always made sure they had enough to eat. They started to help out more willingly, their initial fear slowly giving way to curiosity. One afternoon, Thomas found Rose sitting by the creek, sketching in the dirt with a twig. He sat down beside her, careful not to startle her. "That's a pretty picture," he said, admiring her drawing of a bird in flight. Rose blushed and quickly tried to erase it, but Thomas gently stopped her. "No, don't," he said. "It's beautiful. You have a real talent." That was the first time Rose had smiled genuinely since arriving at the farm. Lily, seeing her sister's smile, felt a warmth spread through her. Maybe, just maybe, they could be happy here. Maybe this wasn't so bad after all. Thomas, watching the twins, felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. He still missed Sarah terribly, but seeing Lily and Rose starting to come out of their shells gave him a sense of purpose. He realized that he wasn't just helping them, they were helping him too. As the days turned into weeks, Thomas found himself observing Lily and Rose more closely. It wasn't just their bright, sunny hair that reminded him of Sarah. It was the way Lily tilted her head when she was thinking, just like Sarah used to do. And the way Rose had a habit of humming softly to herself while she worked, a habit Sarah had also shared. He tried to dismiss it as coincidence, but the similarities were too striking to ignore. He remembered Sarah talking about her brother, Silas, a ne'er-do-well who had always been a source of worry for her. She hadn't seen him in years, not since their parents had passed away and they had drifted apart. A seed of suspicion began to sprout in Thomas's mind. Could it be possible? Could Lily and Rose be related to Sarah? The thought both excited and terrified him. If they were, that would mean they were his nieces. He started to rummage through old boxes in the attic, searching for something, anything, that could confirm his suspicions. He found old photographs, letters, and trinkets from Sarah's childhood. He spent hours poring over them, trying to piece together the puzzle. One evening, he stumbled upon a small, wooden chest tucked away in a dark corner. Inside, he found a collection of Sarah's most treasured possessions. And then, he saw it, a silver locket, intricately engraved with a floral design. He remembered Sarah wearing it all the time. He carefully opened the locket. Inside were two tiny pictures, one of Sarah, young and radiant, and another of two baby girls, nestled side by side. Lily and Rose. The truth hit him like a thunderbolt. They were his nieces. Silas had sold him his own family. Rage and disbelief washed over Thomas. How could Silas do such a thing? Sell his own nieces like they were nothing more than livestock. The thought made his blood boil. He had to confront him, had to demand an explanation. He saddled his horse and rode to Silas's shack, his heart pounding in his chest. He found Silas at the tavern, as usual, slumped over a table with a half-empty bottle in his hand. Thomas grabbed him by the collar and dragged him outside, ignoring Silas's protests. "Where did you get those girls, Silas?" Thomas demanded, his voice trembling with anger. Silas, startled and confused, stammered, "What girls? What are you talking about?" Thomas shoved the locket in Silas's face. "These girls. Lily and Rose. Don't you dare lie to me. They're Sarah's nieces, your nieces. You sold them, didn't you?" Silas's face paled. He tried to deny it, but Thomas's gaze was unwavering. Finally, he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. "I needed the money. I didn't know what else to do." "You sold your own family." Thomas roared, his grip tightening on Silas's collar. "They're just children. They trusted you." Silas hung his head in shame. I know. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Thomas repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "This is more than a mistake, Silas. This is unforgivable." He released Silas, pushing him away with disgust. "Stay away from them," Thomas warned. "If you ever come near Lily and Rose again, you'll have me to answer to." He turned and stormed away, leaving Silas cowering in the dust. He knew he had to protect those girls, no matter what. They were his family now. Back at the farm, Thomas found Lily and Rose playing in the garden, their laughter echoing in the evening air. He watched them for a moment, his heart swelling with a mix of love and protectiveness. He knew he couldn't tell them the truth about Silas, not yet. They were still too young, too vulnerable. He knelt down beside them, a gentle smile on his face. "Girls," he said, "I have something to tell you. I knew your mother, Sarah. She was a very special person, and she loved you very much. Lily and Rose looked at him, their eyes wide with curiosity. They had so few memories of their mother. Silas had rarely spoken of her, and when he did, it was with a dismissive shrug. Thomas told them stories about Sarah, about her kindness, her warmth, and her infectious laugh. He showed them pictures of her, pointing out the similarities between her and them. He told them about her dreams of having a family, of filling her home with love and laughter. As he spoke, Lily and Rose listened intently, their faces illuminated by the setting sun. They felt a connection to this woman they barely remembered, a connection that Thomas was helping them to rediscover. "You are her legacy," Thomas said, his voice choked with emotion. "And I promise you, I will do everything in my power to protect you, to love you, and to give you the life she always wanted for you." Lily and Rose threw their arms around Thomas, hugging him tightly. For the first time since their parents had died, they felt safe, they felt loved, they felt like they belonged. They didn't know the full story, but they knew that Thomas was someone they could trust, someone who would always be there for them. He was their protector, their friend, and, in a way, their family. From that day forward, Thomas dedicated his life to providing Lily and Rose with the love and stability they deserved. He made sure they had warm clothes, nutritious meals, and a comfortable home. He enrolled them in a local school, where they quickly made friends and excelled in their studies. He spent hours reading to them, telling them stories about brave knights, magical creatures, and faraway lands. He encouraged Rose to pursue her artistic talents, providing her with paper, pencils, and paints. He helped Lily develop her outgoing personality, encouraging her to participate in school plays and community events. He also made sure they knew everything about their mother, Sarah. He showed them her favorite books, played her favorite songs, and shared stories about her life and her dreams. He wanted them to know that even though she was gone, her spirit lived on in them. Slowly but surely, Lily and Rose began to heal from their past. The fear and uncertainty that had haunted them began to fade, replaced by a sense of security and belonging. They blossomed under Thomas's care, growing into confident, happy young girls. Thomas, too, found healing in caring for Lily and Rose. The loneliness that had plagued him since Sarah's death began to dissipate, replaced by the joy of being a father figure to these two amazing girls. He realized that Sarah had sent them to him, not just to save them, but to save him as well. They had become his family, his purpose, and his greatest source of happiness. The farm, once a symbol of his grief, now echoed with the sounds of laughter and love. The farm flourished under their combined efforts. Lily and Rose, now older and stronger, took on more responsibilities, helping Thomas with the planting, harvesting, and tending to the animals. They brought a youthful energy and enthusiasm to the farm that had been missing for so long. Thomas, no longer burdened by loneliness and grief, found renewed purpose in his work. He taught the girls everything he knew about farming, passing on the knowledge that had been passed down through generations of his family. He watched with pride as they mastered new skills, their faces beaming with accomplishment. He also learned from them. Lily taught him about the latest fashions and trends, and Rose showed him how to appreciate the beauty of the natural world. They opened his eyes to new possibilities and new perspectives. He started to participate more in community events, attending town meetings and volunteering his time to local charities. He became known as a kind and generous man, a loving father figure to Lily and Rose. The neighbors, who had once pitied him, now admired him. They saw the transformation in him, the way he had blossomed under the girls' care. They offered their support and friendship, welcoming Lily and Rose into their community with open arms. Even Silas, who had disappeared after Thomas's confrontation, occasionally watched from afar, his face etched with regret. He knew he had made a terrible mistake, and he could see that Lily and Rose were better off without him. He dared not approach them, fearing Thomas's wrath. He was left to live with the consequences of his actions, a lonely and broken man. Thomas, Lily, and Rose had created a family, not by blood, but by love, loyalty, and a shared sense of purpose. They had found happiness in the most unexpected of circumstances, proving that even the darkest of times can lead to the brightest of futures. Years passed, and Lily and Rose blossomed into beautiful young women. Lily, with her outgoing personality, became a teacher, inspiring young minds with her passion for learning. Rose, with her artistic talent, became a renowned painter, capturing the beauty of the world on canvas. Thomas watched them with immense pride, his heart overflowing with love. He had given them a home, a family, and a future. And in return, they had given him a reason to live, a purpose that had transformed him from a struggling widower into a happy and fulfilled man. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on the porch, sipping lemonade, Lily turned to Thomas and said, "You know, we never really thanked you for everything you've done for us." Rose nodded in agreement. "You saved us, Thomas. You gave us a life we never thought possible." Thomas smiled, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "You didn't need saving," he said. "You just needed someone to believe in you. And I always will." He paused, then added, "Besides, you saved me too. You filled my life with joy and laughter. You gave me a family when I thought I had lost everything." Lily and Rose exchanged a knowing glance. They knew that Thomas had gone through a lot, that he had suffered a great loss. But they also knew that he had found happiness again, thanks to them. They leaned in and hugged him tightly, their love a tangible presence that filled the air. They were a family, bound by love, loyalty, and a shared history. And they knew that no matter what challenges life threw their way, they would always have each other. Their bond was unbreakable, a testament to the power of love and the resilience of the human spirit. The community, seeing their happiness, embraced them fully. They were no longer just the orphans or the widower's girls, but valued members of the town. One day, Lily received an invitation to showcase her teaching methods at a national education conference. Rose, in turn, was invited to exhibit her paintings in a prestigious art gallery in the city. They were both thrilled and nervous about the opportunities, but they knew they couldn't have achieved their dreams without Thomas's unwavering support. They sat down with him to discuss their plans, seeking his advice and encouragement. Thomas listened intently, his eyes shining with pride. He knew that this was their chance to shine, to share their talents with the world. "I'm so proud of you both," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've worked so hard, and you deserve all the success that comes your way." He helped them prepare for their respective events, offering practical advice and emotional support. He reminded them to stay true to themselves, to never forget their roots, and to always be grateful for the blessings they had received. As they embarked on their journeys, they carried with them the love and support of their family. They knew that no matter where life took them, they would always have each other, and they would always have Thomas. Their success stories inspired others in the community, proving that even the most challenging circumstances can be overcome with love, perseverance, and a little bit of luck. They became role models for young people, demonstrating the power of education, creativity, and compassion. They wanted to give back, to do something to thank the man who had given them everything. They knew that their success was as much his as it was theirs. They decided to surprise him. When Thomas returned from his usual morning chores, he found the farm transformed. A banner hung over the porch, proclaiming, "Thank you, Thomas." The garden was filled with flowers, and a table was laden with food. The entire community had gathered to celebrate him. Lily and Rose stepped forward, their faces beaming with joy. "We wanted to show you how much we appreciate everything you've done for us," Lily said. Rose added, "You gave us a home, a family, and a future. And we wanted to give something back to you." They presented him with a deed to the farm, making him the sole owner, free from any financial burdens. They had worked hard, saved their money, and paid off the mortgage. Tears welled up in Thomas's eyes. He was overwhelmed by their generosity and their love. He had never expected such a grand gesture. He pulled them close, hugging them tightly. "This is the most wonderful gift I could ever receive," he said, his voice choked with emotion. But the greatest gift of all is having you two in my life." As the celebration continued, Thomas looked around at the faces of his family, his friends, and his community. He realized how far he had come, from a lonely widower struggling to survive to a happy and fulfilled man surrounded by love. He raised his glass in a toast. "To family," he said, "to love, and to second chances. May we always cherish the bonds that connect us and the unexpected journeys that bring us together." Lily and Rose raised their glasses in response, their hearts filled with gratitude and joy. They were a family, bound by love, loyalty, and a shared history. And they knew that their story, the story of a struggling widower who unknowingly bought his twin nieces and became their savior, would be told for generations to come. It was a testament to the power of love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unexpected blessings that life can bring. The sun set on the farm, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, a perfect ending to a perfect day.